I feel like I look really short because the camera is like up and pointing down at me because the shelf is high. But I don't know. I feel like I look short.
3, 2, 1, bro.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the Bros Murph, and this is What's on That Shelf. What's on the Shelf is a series we kind of brought back. We had a while ago, probably over a year ago, and we basically just like pick one shelf of our many shelves here, pull out the games, tell you kind of what they are, and just talk about them a little bit, why we like them, why we have them, that kind of stuff. It's kind of a shorter version of Board Game Highlight. Board Game Highlight came from What's on the Shelf because we're like, man, I want to talk about these games in more in depth. And so that's why we started doing Board Game Highlight. But we had missed doing What's on That Shelf, and so we decided to bring it back because also since the last time we did it, we've gotten quite a few different games. And so this is What's on That Shelf, and today we are going to look at this shelf right here. Not this shelf, even though this is more in frame. This shelf is dumb. It's not. But this shelf is the one we're doing right here. So we're just going to go through and start. The first thing we have is a spanking paddle. And by that I mean it's a cribbage board. See the holes? Cribbage board. Also makes it hurt more for spanking purposes. This is a cribbage board. You will see throughout this series, and this series will probably go on for a long time, but you will see multiple cribbage boards. All of them are made by our grandfather. Mike and I are big cribbage fans. Cribbage is a big game in our family, both on our dad's side and our mom's side. Both sides play cribbage a lot. And cribbage is really the only, I would say, tabletop game. I was going to say board game, but it's really not. Kind of tabletop game we played as kids. A lot of people are like, oh man, I've been playing games since I was a child. I played with my family. We played, and we didn't. Our mom hates board games. She just does not like them, which is totally fine. And our dad will play them with us, but like we did not have a board game family at all. But our family played cribbage. A lot of families would play like hearts or all these things. We played cribbage. That was all we ever played. But we played a lot of cribbage. We played it with our uncles. We played it with our grandparents. We played it with our mom and our dad. We played a lot of cribbage. And our grandfather was a woodworker. That was his main thing that he liked to do outside of what his normal job, and then just like general being a wonderful, loving person. He liked woodworking, and one of his favorite things to make was cribbage boards. So you'll see many cribbage boards. This one is a little bit unique because this one is specifically made for 3 people. You can play cribbage with 3 people. A lot of people don't know that, but you can. But most boards don't have the holes or the tracks for 3 people. But if you can see, it's gonna be a little blurry because it's not focused there, but you can see there are 3 different tracks. And so this one is actually made for 3 people. You can still play it with 2 if you want to. But that's pretty darn cool. One of the reasons why we really like this one and why we keep this one, and also if we have a home intruder and we feel like just give them a good punishment spanking, we got something covered. So this is a cribbage board from our grandfather. I love this board, and you'll see many more of those throughout the series. There's one right here. There's one down there. There's also one right here. You can't see it, so I'll see it. There's one right there too. But nonetheless, this is a cribbage board. It's just cribbage. I did a board game highlight on cribbage. There'll be a link for it right there if you want to know what cribbage is, if you don't know what that is. But it's a classic card game. It's great. So we'll go ahead and start here. This is kind of like, not completely, but we're going to be reorganizing our shelves minus these 2 because we just did What's on the Shelf on these 2. But we tend to keep things together by publisher a lot of times. And this is kind of like our Stonemaier-ish area, not completely. First thing we have here is Wingspan. Wingspan is a great game. I like Wingspan a lot. Wingspan is a game that came out this year from Stonemaier Games. It is a game where you have all your own little habitats. You have habitats where you have like forest habitats, like grassland, and then wetlands. And essentially you are trying to get different birds and then put them in those habitats. And the birds will give you points. The birds will lay eggs. All those eggs are worth points. And it's an engine builder. Pretty light in terms of engine building, like heavier than I would say something like Splendor or Gizmos or Centuries, but not anything like Terraforming Mars or any of those big heavy engine builders. It's kind of in the middle of those two, which I like. It's like if someone liked something like Splendor or some kind of really light, very quick, fast engine builders, this would be a great next step game for them. It's also just a cool theme. I really like the theme of just like bird watching. I don't care about birds more than like, hey, it's a bird. Cool, America, bald eagles. But like, I don't particularly care about birds, but I just like different themes. The fact that it's like, hey, I like this theme because it's different. It's not just the same old stuff. You could have made an engine builder about anything, but they made it about birds, and it's cool. And it's got great art, really, really wonderful art by Beth Sobel and like a bunch of other people. It's really, really great. All unique cards. There's like 150 birds in the game. And this game is kind of weird because like, it's that it's been the problem of like the hype thing that goes on in board games, which I think is silly. But it's like the game came out, people lost their minds and loved it. And so that means if a lot of people like the game, then there's going to be a ton of people who hate the game because other people like it. And some of them probably legitimately just don't like, I don't think it's that good of a game, but it's just one of those things, you know, with movies or anything that's popular, then there's a whole horde of people who are just like, it's not that good. And so now it's become this like weird form of, this weird like place of contention in the hobby of like pro Wingspan, like anti Wingspan, where now there's like a bunch of like reviews, all these things are like, everyone's just so overhyped, it's whatever. And it's just like, I just don't get it. Play the game. If you like it, then like it. If you don't like it, then you're like, oh, I didn't like that. And just like, move on with your day. I do not get this whole like, oh, you're just a sheep, give into the hype. I don't get the amount of energy it takes to do all that kind of stuff. I just don't get it. Nonetheless, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a great engine builder game. It's really fun. We printed out 3D printed birds for this, which I think are super, super cool. There'll be a link to that video up there. And yeah, I like Wingspan a lot. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Totally worth it. It's awesome. So that is Wingspan. Next, we are going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to have, boom, Castles of King Ludwig. This insert does not hold it very well. One thing about this game that I'll say, this is one of the few games that we actually, oh, that did not work, but look how messy that is. This is one of the few games where we bought one of those fancy inserts. This is like a broken token insert for it because this game has a lot of different tiles. And if you don't have the insert, it's totally playable, but it makes it quite a bit easier when you do have the insert. Apparently this insert does not hold it very well when it's vertical, but that's okay. Castles of King Ludwig is kind of like a sequel in mechanics to Suburbia. Suburbia is another game by Bezier Games and Ted Alspach that we like quite a bit. And spoiler, I like it much more than Castles of King Ludwig. This is just a similar game where you have the tiles up in a row on the top like Suburbia, different kinds of tiles like living rooms and like utility rooms and like outdoor rooms. There's just a whole bunch of different kind of rooms that would happen. And I can't remember what the name that this castle is based off of. I think it starts with an N. I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll pop up above my head right here. But nonetheless, it's based on this castle that King Ludwig made. This crazy, there's all these rooms everywhere. It's just all these like secret stuff, and it's just crazy. All sorts of bananas. And so you're building out this kind of crazy castle where you're putting like, I'm gonna put a corridor here, then I'm gonna put this over here, and then this crazy room over here. And you just build this weird, like personalized castle to you, but the tiles want to be next to other tiles. So like, you know, a living room doesn't want to be next to a bedroom because when you're in a living room, you tend to be really loud in living rooms. So like putting it next to a bedroom is bad or something like that. There's a whole bunch of like why you want to put stuff in certain places. And a lot of tile laying games are like that. And this is one of them. This is a game that like, in terms of theme, I should like more than Suburbia. And in terms of theme, I actually do like it more. This is one of those games that's like one of those instances where I'm like, man, I like all of these things, but I really hate this one thing about it. And this one thing about it keeps me from liking it more. Like, and I still like the game, and I play it a lot on the app. We haven't played the physical game in a long time, mostly because I'm like, if I'm gonna play the game, I'll play the app. And if I want to play this, I'll just play Suburbia. So Shockers is probably gonna be on our coal list pretty soon because we just don't play it, honestly. But I do like the game. But the thing I don't like about the game is there is something called a master builder, I think is what it's called. But basically, there's tiles up at the very top of the board, and they have different prices to them. So like this tile is this much, and then the farther they go down the line, the more expensive they get. So in something like Suburbia, the tiles are just on a sliding system. So if someone takes this tile, everything slides down, a new tile comes out. Someone takes this one, they slide down, a new tile comes out. It's just like that. So as the tiles go down the line, they start getting cheaper. And it's that constant thing in board games, like, ooh, do I want to pay more to get this tile now before anyone else can? Or do I want to try and risk it and wait for it to get cheaper so I'm not spending enough money? That's a tried and true mechanic. A lot of games use that mechanic, and it's great. This does something different, where whoever's the master builder gets to decide where the tiles go, basically how expensive to make them. And then everyone who then buys a tile, their money goes to the master builder. So that's how you get your money. And so basically what you have to do is you have to price things out where you're making people pay a lot of money, but not so much money that they won't buy the tile, if that makes sense. So basically you look around like, oh, Steve over here is gonna need a sleeping room, and Joan over here, she's gonna need a living room. So I'm gonna make the living room this much because I think she'll still pay that much money for it, but I want to get as much money out of her as I can. And Steve, same thing. I'm gonna try and make it here, but ooh, that might be a little too much, so I'm gonna put it down here because I don't think he would pay that, but I think he might pay this. And that part of the game just completely grinds the entire game to a halt. And at least for me, for whatever reason, my head, I am not good at games where I really have to be paying attention to like what everyone else is doing. Like, ooh, they're looking for this kind of tile. I just want to play my own game. I multiplayer solitaire games a lot. And this, it's like that part of it makes my brain completely clutch up and it grinds the game to a halt. And to me, I'm just like, I wish it was just like Suburbia. If you took out that one thing, made it like Suburbia, I'd probably like this game more, to be completely honest. But nonetheless, I do like the game, and especially if you don't have the app, try the app. The app is really nice, really well integrated, and very, very fun. So I still like playing this game, but I play it on the app. I don't really play the physical game anymore, and honestly, I probably won't really ever again. And that's okay. That's okay. You know, it happens. You know, sometimes you get a game and you kind of grow out of it. It's just what it is. So Castle of King Ludwig, great game, great app. Good game, great app. And try it out. It's a good time, especially if you like Suburbia. Give it a try. So now there is one more thing that like kind of put the last nail in the coffin of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and that is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. We also like to pair games together. So Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig is right next to Castles of Mad King Ludwig and in the Stonemaier area, because this is a Stonemaier game. So this really made it so I'm like, okay, I'm probably never going to play Castles of Mad King Ludwig again, because I would much, much rather play this game. So this is a hybrid of the games Castles of Mad King Ludwig and Between Two Cities by Stonemaier Games. It is a mix of those two games, although it's much, much more like Between Two Cities. So basically, this game is interesting in a way. So you can see here, everyone has their big tableau of different tiles, and then a main area here where the tiles come from. So what this game is this is an interesting game where, one, you can play like 2 to 7, well really 3 to 7, the 2-player variant's like, okay. But you can play with a lot amount of people, but it's like Seven Wonders in the sense where adding more people does not add time to the game, which is super cool and really hard to do in board games. And some games pull it off and it's awesome. And this one does. So basically what it is I'm here, Mary's here, Steve's here, Joan's here. So basically, in between your partners, in between your neighbors rather, because you're not partners, it's a competitive game, you're going to have a castle in between everybody. So in between me and, I forgot Mary was here. In between me and Mary, I'll have a castle, and then Mary and Steve will have a castle, and then Steve and Joan will have a castle, and then Joan and me will have a castle. So you have a castle with each of your neighbors, and you're essentially getting tiles, figuring out which tile you want to put in each castle, and then at the same time, around the same time, you get with one of your neighbors and you flip over the tiles, and then you together decide where to put it in your castle. And then you go to your other castle. You go, okay, Joan, so we're gonna put it. So I was thinking we could put this one here. Okay, yeah, I was thinking about this one. Oh, cool, great idea. Let's do that. And so you're building both castles simultaneously. But here's the brilliant part of it, is you need to make both castles as good as humanly possible. It's the only like semi-co-op game that, in my opinion, works, because it is kind of semi-co-op. Because at the end of the game, you're going to score all the tiles, and they all score in totally different ways. You're going to score your basic 2 castles, and whatever is the lesser of your 2 castles, the castles with the least score, that is the castle you're scoring at the end of the game. So you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna give Mary here all the good tiles, and Joan, screw you, I don't like you, you kicked my dog. Which is, why did she do that? And so, but you can't do that. You have to make them as basically as equal as humanly possible. So you're both partners on both sides are actively really trying to make the best castle possible. And it's super, super cool. And it's a great idea. So they took that game. That's kind of how Between Two Cities is. It's very like that. And they threw the theme of Castles of Mad King Ludwig on top of it. So now all the tiles are just like the tiles of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. They're all super weird. You have like living rooms and utility rooms and outdoor rooms and like underground rooms and like sleeping rooms. You have all those kinds of rooms. That really great theme that's in Castles of Mad King Ludwig that I really, really love. I love the weird castles you end up building where you have all these like weird branching off parts that are doing all these weird things because it just made sense for the tiles. I love that of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And now you get that in this. You get the theme and the tile placement of Castles of Mad King Ludwig with the mechanics of Between Two Cities. And man, oh man, does it work. I really, really like this game. And the problem is, this has kind of made it where I'm like, I never need to play Castles of King Ludwig again, because I'll just play this, because I get that feeling, that theme out of this one, but I like the mechanics of this game way more. And it's just great, and it's a game that, like, I want to play with the full count if I can, because it doesn't matter, because everyone is always just working on their 2 castles. Everyone. So no matter how many people you add to it, you always have 2 castles. And so it doesn't matter who you add, you always just going to have those 2 castles. And it's just super, super cool, super interesting. And I really, really like this game. Every time I play it, I like it more. And it's just, I like it. I like it a lot. Between 2 Castles and King Ludwig, if you like Between Two Cities, if you played it, try this out. It's a really, really fun game with a really, really fun theme. And it just works. I like it a lot. Between Two Castles of King Ludwig is shout standing. And then now, the last one on this list is Viticulture. Viticulture. If you know anything about us, Viticulture is my favorite game. So I like this game a lot. This box is heavy. This is an awkward box too. One thing I like this box. It's weird and it's like small and like tall. I don't get this box, but nonetheless, it has nothing to do with the game. I weirdly like this box, and it's heavy. Nonetheless, this is Viticulture. Viticulture is my favorite game in the whole world. I love this game. I was talking about this game with someone I was explaining this game to a coworker who does not play games, and I was trying to explain why I like this game, because they're like, you're running a vineyard, that sounds super boring. I'm like, yeah, it does sound boring, and the theme is kind of boring. I like the theme actually, because again, it's a theme that's not used very often. So like, but you're running a vineyard, you know, it's like, it's not super sexy, but at least it's different. And especially for us, it makes no sense because neither Mike or I drink. So like, the theme doesn't do much for me in terms of like, ooh, I can drink a Merlot while I'm making a Merlot. You know, it's not like that. And so, Viticulture is a wonderful, wonderful game. It's just the greatest game ever made. But it's a worker placement game. Like a lot of worker placement games, you have the main central board where all the action spaces are, and then you have your own personal board. Your own personal board is your vineyard. On your vineyard, you can be planting different vines that will give you different grapes, different levels of white and red grapes. You can turn those grapes into juice, and then you turn that juice into wine. And then with that wine, you complete wine orders. So you get a wine order at some point in the game. It's like, hey, I need a level 7 red and a level 3 white. And so, okay, I got to bring down these grapes. I got to turn them into juice. I got to make them into this kind of wine and then age them to the point where they are meeting that criteria. And then I can go turn in that for points. And so it's my favorite kind of worker placement game where it's, I need to do this, 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 so that I can do this. I like those kinds of engine building worker placement games. I like that kind of to get to my goal. I enjoy that. I think it's very fun. I think it's a fun puzzle to try and figure out, especially considering everyone is doing the exact same thing. Everyone needs to get plants. Everyone needs to get juice. Everyone needs to turn that juice into wine, and everyone needs to get wine orders filled. And it's just a great, great game of blocking and trying. You know, it's what I love about worker placement games is the prioritizing of it. You have a big board, and the big board is broken into seasons. So summer, depending on what version of the game you're playing, it'll either be summer or winter, or summer or spring, summer, fall, winter. And basically, you can't go into the next season, you can't pass into the next season where all the worker placement spots are until everyone does. So it's that constant thing of like, okay, if I use my workers in summer, I'm not going to have them for winter. So like, is it more important for me to use them here? And then even within that, you're like, okay, I know that Joan needs to get plants and I need to get plants. So do I think that she's going to go there first? Because if she goes there first, I'm going to have to use my Grande worker, and everyone has a Grande worker, which can go to a spot that's blocked essentially. And you're like, but you only get one Grande worker. So like, do I want to go to that one first because I think she's going to go there, and then I don't want to have to waste my Grande worker in like the first turn, you know? And it's just that constant, like, it's my favorite thing about that prioritizing, like, oh, is it worth it? Like, what's the timing for it? And this game just does it so well. And it's just a clean game that I absolutely love. And I don't entirely, I'm not good at articulating why I like it so much, but from the moment I saw the game, even before I played it, I knew it was going to be one of my favorite games. And it just is. It's just lovely and fun and beautiful, and I just love it. I love Viticulture so much. If you've watched this channel at all, you know that. It's Mike's number 2 game. we're big fans of it. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. So that is Viticulture. I'm not going to go into any more because I kind of was just rambling about nothing, I feel like, for the last like half hour about this game. So yeah, but that's going to be it. That is Viticulture. My favorite. I love it, love it, love it. So that is going to be it for what's on that shelf. We have gone through this shelf. It is now empty. I can put my arm in here and punch nothing at all. And so that is what's on the shelf. We will continue working through our shelves. Eventually, if you want to see a game, it will pop up. Eventually, I'm not entirely sure where or when, but it will pop up. And so we really enjoyed doing these. I hope you all enjoyed it. That is the game. What do you think about the games that I pulled out in this specific What's on That Shelf? Put it down in the comments. Do you like these games? Do you not like these games? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Put it down in the comments. I want to hear about it. And while you're down, make sure to like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. You're the best. I love you all. And until next time, my name is Nick Murph, and one half of the Brothers Murph. This has been What's on That Shelf, and I will see you later.